Hello YouTube, my name is Ariana Jasmine, and today we will be reacting to the Republican debate. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, comment so that this video can get boosted, and let's get into it.
On stage tonight, 4 candidates, all vying to become their party's nominee. We begin with the question of electability. Governor DeSantis, you were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out from the first real votes, and you haven't managed to do it. Is it fair to say, as Senator Tim Scott did when he dropped out, that voters are telling you, not no, but not now?
I'm sick of hearing about these polls, because I remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't...
That was different. That was so different.
Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida.
Yes, because you literally serve Florida. Any Republican would beat anything in Florida. It's the land of chuds. He's not really doing like that big of a breaking freaking news accomplishment.
Ambassador Haley, you left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from, but I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed...
What does illegal immigration have to do with anything?
Pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the...
Bro, Megyn Kelly asked her a question about her corporate donors, and she's going off about immigration and abortion. I'm so confused. What does that have to do with anything?
The unions, and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. When it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are, and I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am, and that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well,
that was a terrible response.
he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education bill. It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again. That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that.
Every single debate, Ron DeSantis will bring up a random anecdotal story. He probably makes up most of the stories, and he'll just say, talk to Claire or talk to Sue. We don't know who Sue or Claire is. You're not making a great argument there either.
Just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up against child abuse, how are you going to be able to stand up for anything?
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change your gender.
You said the law should stay out of it.
We're gonna get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with electability. Mr. Ramaswamy, you campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying, these are good people on this stage. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told Ambassador Haley she should keep a closer eye on her daughter. Can you see how this has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier?
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody in the White House who absolutely is going to be a fighter when it counts. And I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley.
Oh my God, look at how awkward. Just look at Ron DeSantis. This man is so awkward. He looks like a human AI. Like, he doesn't even look real sometimes.
Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor, joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is, and now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment. Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics.
Listen, I don't like him. I think Vivek is psychotic. I definitely think he's unhinged, but he does kind of have a point here. People are kind of over the corporate bought out politicians, you know what I mean?
First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing, and then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. But that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and deny
Let me get the governor in, and then I'll go to Governor DeSantis.
And Vivek, he wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office and ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I wrote that book as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual. This is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom. That is fascism. And she...
See, this is my problem with Vivek. Okay, this is exactly my problem with Vivek. He always does this. He will say some things that really make sense. And then he'll say the most craziest inflammatory thing, and then he'll lose everyone in the crowd. Like, it's literally the Vivek effect at this point.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. I'll say this. What I said was there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian.
They're Iranian. They're Iranian bots. You know what I love about Nikki Haley? This woman is Indian, but she likes to cosplay with a Southern accent and a white name. Do what you gotta do, sis. I get it, but damn.
Freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
That's false.
She said, I want your name.
She
as President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do,
I said we were going to get the millions of bots.
She wants government ID to dox every American.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did. And then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay.
It was a bad idea, and she should own up to it.
Come on, what are you doing here? 15 seconds, and And then there is the governor, former governor of New Jersey.
This cracks me up because Ron is so hypocritical, because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press, and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to write about elected officials. It was in the, check your newspaper. It was absolutely there. I have never said government.
Honestly, the idea that someone who speaks about the government and is critical of the government has to sign federal papers to identify themselves is very scary, because they're not going to be going after the conservatives. They're going to be going after the leftists, the progressives, the socialists, people like me, Hassan. They never cared about the conservatives. They always crucify leftists. History has always been this way. Every single country that goes through some type of revolution, who are the first people that get murdered? It's the communists, it's the socialists, it's the leftist.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America, and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, "Finish them," end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied.
Okay, number one, Ben-Gurion was the inventor of the Zionist ideology, which adheres to colonizing Palestine and Palestinian land. All right, Ben-Gvir or whatever, and his whole entire Palestine mission would not be possible without American foreign aid that has been going there since around 1950. So we can act as if, oh yeah, the founding father, the Washington of Israel, he didn't want America or Western sympathy. Babes, Israel is nothing without American support. They are nothing if we completely divest from their country. Here's another thing about Vivek Ramaswamy. He talks about history, but he has no idea what true history actually is. He just talks out of his butt.
Governor Christie. You do not favor a ban on trans medical treatments for minors. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, and aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm not, because Republicans believe in less government, not more. And you know what, Megan? I trust parents. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. For me and for my wife, let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan. And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like.
You talk about parental rights. Let's talk about them. When you were governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to remain a secret between the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental rights?
By the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was out of office,
mandated the guidelines.
Megan. No, we did not, Megan. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm starting to check out, low-key. This debate is just wreaking privilege. They're not personally impacted by any of these things, but they're talking as if number one, they have a place, and number two, their opinion is valid. Now they're talking about trans youth. Like, none of y'all have a trans child, but it's like you still have the audacity to speak on it, and that's what I have an issue on.
Mr. Ramaswamy, when discussing your Hindu faith in September, you seemed to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make Vivek Vicky or whatever.
Yeah,
end quote.
He does have a point.
Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimarata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki...
Her name is Nimarata!
Exactly. The rest of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. That's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith, but I question her authenticity. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in American life, identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic. It's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said.
Oh, no.
After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman
Why are
problem.
they bringing Dylan Mulvaney into a presidential debate? Like, Dylan Mulvaney has nothing to do with this, like, whatsoever.
Corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. There's our donor puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics in this party.
Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
No. It's not worth my time to respond to him.
You have been using identity politics at every step. She knows it's true, and that's why she's actually hiding from it.
Sir, we're not going to give you a response to the question that was to you.
All right, we got to do a quick break. We're going to come back in 1 minute.
So freaking boring. Like, if I had Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy on a stage together, I would have the girls fighting. It would be cat fights, left and right. That's how you do it. Not whatever the hell this is. Ugh. Let's see what Twitter is saying. Oh God, of course Vivek is trending. Why is this so funny? This is such a funny picture. It'd be funnier if he had a bald spot. Damn, not Maggie Kelly getting told off.
Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better. But Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans trust you more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue?
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. Do you actually get access to care? The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that, and I don't think that that was the right policy to do.
That's not true. California has covered California, and essentially it covers everyone, regardless of whether you have a job or you're self-employed or anything, and the economy in California is not down. So I'm not sure what his point is there.
Accountable, and we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. and on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. So here's the answer. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health, preventative medicine, diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise. And here's how we deliver that. End the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's crony capitalism, and that's the answer.
See, this is what I mean. He says things that make sense, and then he ends it with something that makes zero sense to what he just said.
I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. We need some basic principles that end the corruption in government. That's how we got the health insurance exemptions. That's how we got the pharmaceutical product liability exemptions.
Thank you.
We end the corruption.
We will be right back in just a few moments for our closing statements from our 4 candidates at the Republican primary debate.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
I use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed. That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs. I said it at the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life, bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch.
Thank you,
It's the most critical issue that's coming up.
He sounds like a crazy conspiracy theorist in a 4chan thread. That was his closing argument? Are you serious?
We see it on our streets in our cities. We see it on college campuses. We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt. And we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East. We have to stop the chaos, but you can't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us. My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining. I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America where we unleash our economy and we reject socialism. But more importantly, I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crush Joe Biden.
I envision an America where I can actually afford rent and I can have health insurance and I don't have to take $30,000 out a year in student debt just to be able to get a college degree. They're acting as if we're scared of socialism. Like, babe, that's not the biggest problem. That's not even a problem.
To our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won, and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. It's about being willing to set out that vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will fight the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, all of you. Thanks for watching.
Wow, how was Ron DeSantis the one with the best closing argument? Everyone else went on such a weird tangent. All right, YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in to that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment for more videos like this, and I will see you guys next time.